to field the questions directly, because it's always dangerous when somebody else answers a person's question that doesn't have full knowledge. And we readily don't have full knowledge. We have our little part of it, and we interpret it like everyone else. And so that's why I think we actually initiated also, well, let's have these meetings, because it will, rather than, and I think I made the comment last year at the budget hearings, when you pent up people's questions for 12 months and you only give them one day in a year where they can ask any question they want, and it's at a budget hearing, which is not the most pleasant experience to begin with, it just puts everybody on edge, and it causes for friction and difficulty in working with people. If we do it more regularly, I think it softens the blow, and it keeps people more aligned. So if we're forced to do it, then so be it. I mean, we'll do it, but I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. It's answering questions is really not, most people just are curious to know why, you know, and they don't always have to agree, but they have a right to know. It's their money, so.
One of the things the public can do is we encourage them to email our commissioners, and then we can prepare for the upcoming meeting and answer those questions during commissioners' time.
Well, I mean, I think that's good, but I guess the question I would ask is, how's that working? How's that working for you?
Well, we've gotten very few questions, but you know, we've let people know that they can do that.
Yeah.
So just thought I'd reference it.
I mean, Chuck, to getting to the big point that couple of people made, I mean, separating from the county, your fiscal and IT operations, separating from the county, made zero financial sense, made zero business sense.
That's right.
Any business person on your board would never do that for their personal business if they were getting those services for free. The only reason you did it was to avoid oversight and avoid transparency, period. That's why it was done. You can say whatever else you want, you didn't give an answer here today, but that's why it was done, to avoid oversight, avoid transparency. And when you have $12 million of our money, and you're looking to avoid oversight, avoid transparency, you don't take public comment, and you have very little or no discussion other than a scripted meeting, I think people are frustrated. I'm frustrated. I think that's why all these folks are here. This commission's allowed public, I've been on this commission for 11 years, we've always allowed public comment, every meeting. Every entity in Geauga County, I believe, has public comment as a component of a meeting, except you guys. So, we all know why you did it, and it's unfortunate, but, so, I mean, I know why you don't answer questions, because everything you do is to obstruct the public looking into what's going on. I don't know why that is, but that's the effect of it. And that seems to be the intent.
And you know, one other thing that I noticed was you have a board, and 2 members of the board seem to be getting contracts from the park district. And that was confusing for me, because usually when people sit on a board, they don't bid on, I know that they have recused themselves for voting, but board members don't even involve bidding on various contracts on an entity that they're sitting on their board. And that was very, very confusing for me. And I don't know why you do that. Is it, I mean, how do you put it out when you need to bid for a contract for something? Do you put it out as a notice so that other people can bid? How is your process?
We do. The projects are publicly bid and awarded accordingly.
And they seem to come back to the board members. Okay. That's what I noticed.
Two questions, John?
Yeah, I'm John Augustine. I just, again, thanks for allowing public comment. All the public comments I've heard are very pertinent and good. Mr. Flays was right on target about the park, some of his comments. You know, I've called the park district several times to different people in the park district. All they do is get answering machines. The only response I've gotten back was one of the things I asked was a permit to go over to the east side of East Branch where they're logging the place out. They're making a mess over there. It's a desecration, and I wanted to walk over there to see what's going on. I was refused. They said they're only allowing naturalist-led hikes over there, yet it's okay for a lumber company to go out there and desecrate the area. And you know, there's been talk about waste of funds. One of the things that could have been used, some of the funds that have been used for lawyers and other purposes, they could have offered to the city of Akron to purchase a conservation easement to give better protection for that area over there. I don't know whether that's been done. So it's a shame. It's a shame what's been going on over there, and the people from the park might use the term management, but that's not what's going on over there. It's not management. They're logging it out for money. That's what Akron wants. They used to need clear water for their city, and the priorities there have changed, and now they want money. And I'm sure if there would have been effort to purchase a conservation easement, they would have jumped on that, because it would have better protected their water supply. Right now, from that logging, the worst time of the year you could log an area, you've got mud from the operation going into the lake. It's making a mess. So that's all I have to say. Thank you again.
Barb, you have a question?
I just don't want the opportunity for me to have public comment to go without me making a public comment. So I'm just gonna do this really quickly. I do appreciate, Dawn, everything you're doing. John, I really appreciate the questions you've been asking, and that you're really working, you all seem to be working together. As a social worker, it's really nice to see the discussion and no fist fights, so that, I do appreciate that. I would like to say, John, on the public comment, the answering questions on email is a great thing, but it's just one thing in an array of public comment, and we could have a discussion about that sometime if we want to do that. But I do appreciate everyone working together. Of course, I also would, if we were voting, I would say you should go back to the auditor services, because I think it was easier on the staff, with Dawn being the kind of mastermind from the park district. But that's just, opinion I would make. But I appreciate all the work that the park does to put on naturalist programs, family programs. Hiking is great in the parks. The parks are great places. We'd like to see that management happening more smoothly, so we don't have the stressors of these kind of meetings. But thanks for coming today. I do appreciate that.
Looks like online. Gail, do you have a question? Your hand is up.
Yes. Gail Rusi, League of Women Voters. Just a question really about process. So it was mentioned earlier that the park is 90% appropriated and there will not be sufficient funds in the first quarter. As a matter of process, how does that get addressed?
Well, I mean, the Budget Commission has no authority to force an entity to reduce appropriations. All we can do is give as firm advice as we can, and normally that's done during the budgeting process, which is not until August. Unfortunately, and the reason I brought it up today is, unfortunately, August is, much later in the year and gives much less time for an entity to recover from an alert such as you don't have enough money. From the interaction I've had this morning, it appears that the park is aware that they need to control their spending so that the first quarter of 2024 is in fact solvent. We can argue over how much that solvency requires, but the math has been proven many times over. You have to pay your people, you have to pay for certain utilities, and generally speaking, people use some number between 25 and 40% of operating costs to sustain life in the first quarter. So, I guess the way we articulate it is just by communication, but there's no control mechanism that I know of that the Budget Commission can invoke.
And they don't have to spend all the money they've appropriated. I mean, there's other entities that we've tried to get them away from that budget practice of appropriating so close. But I think we'll have a better sense in August it doesn't necessarily, this is a red flag, but it's not, they're definitely gonna be in trouble next year. I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of things you can do between
Well,
now
I
and
think
then,
some
that
of
you
it,
know.
maybe some of these projects you're gonna get reimbursed for,
Yeah.
you haven't certified that money.
Right.
So again, you can de-appropriate or increase revenue. I think you're gonna probably have increased revenue through certification. So the number will naturally grow because the money will come in. We all,
And Dawn did bring copies of her and our budget projections, so we probably don't have enough copies for everyone, but if you'd like one, we can email them to you.
Oh, that'd be great.